All right, New World Order has finally ended.
Yeah, not too shabby an ending. Definitely setting up for some major stuff. You know, not the kind of ending where someone's getting decapitated or something, but that doesn't always happen.
No one ended up with their head on a spike or anything.
No.
But yeah, definitely. I really liked this run. Excuse me, I was trying to hold in a cough there. I really enjoyed
Better
this.
than holding in a fart. That we might have had an issue about. This is a very small room.
And speaking of issue, this is issue
number 180.
180.
Beautiful
Just wanted to make sure I
cover.
didn't get it wrong. But yeah, great issue. Definitely setting up. Did you feel the callback to during the prison saga? Remember the "We Are the Walking Dead," where he kind of said the title of the whole series with this one at the end, where he's like, "Well, maybe there's time. It's time for a new world order," and
Which is wild, right? The whole time you're assuming that
they're the
what
new
he's
world
facing
order.
is
Yeah.
the new world order. Yeah, which I mean, I get into this towards the end. For the first time, I think ever, I'm starting to sort of have some apprehensions.
I'm so interested to hear that too, because we usually just both like, "Oh, this is awesome, everything's awesome." So
And
I'm very interested to hear your
A
issues.
solid story arc. I like the fact that the threat, the looming threat, is more ideological. I'm not saying that ideological. I said that
I would
word
go
right.
with that,
The
yeah.
Proper syllabication.
Right.
I say syllabication right.
That I
Nonetheless.
can't promise, but
Nonetheless, a new kind of threat. I'm really digging it. At the same time, I'm a little worried, and we'll get into that once we do a rundown.
I'm so ready for this. I'm so ready for this. This is awesome. All right, but yeah, good issue. Like I said, I will say, not trying to jump to the back and then go back to the front, but again, I felt when he was like, maybe it's time for a new world order. That kind of took me back a long ways back to the prison. With the whole when they were talking about killing after Rick had beat the unholy hell out of the serial killer and almost killed him, and Rick's like, "We are the Walking Dead," which I'm not typically a fan of things saying the title if it's cheesy, but like this and Oblivion song was cool.
Absolutely.
They say the title in there, and but
sometimes it just fits.
Right, and this fit very well, so I was super excited for that. But so we see Michonne is getting very comfortable, being apprehensive at first. When she's moving into her nice, Lance is showing her nice new high-class home, and Michonne being, the Michonne that we know and love, she's not stupid. She's very cautious in life, and she's like, usually when something seems too good to be true, it is. But it seems like Lance has convinced her, and her and Elodie are going to have like a new living situation. Michonne showing up was definitely a step up in society for Elodie.
Yeah, and it's great to see, mother and daughter on the same page, because at first there was some apprehension there, whether she could, embrace Michonne after everything that had went down before the fall.
Right.
And all this kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, she's definitely, digging her new station. I mean, that's for sure.
I've got an Office parallel I want to draw here in a bit, but we'll wait till we get back to the new governor arriving at Alexandria.
Lance with his big old box jaw. It's like she's got a young Jay Leno, greasing the wheels for her.
You hear some wild fan theories being that he's like Negan's brother or something.
I've read that, yeah. I even read that. I think some of our commenters were talking about that.
I don't know if Robert Kirkman would do that twice in a row, though. Just like two random people finding their family. Which, I mean, again, if they're going to be anywhere in that area, it would probably be the area that has 50,000 people. But, I don't know if you would go that far. But I could see it. I mean, they do favor in the face. I could see that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I think that would definitely be a bit much, but who's to say?
And then let's see. So we move from that to Dwight's conversation, and it's really cool because we haven't really gotten back to Rick and Dwight were at odds kind of when we left them last, and
not on good terms at all. I mean, Rick kind of murdered didn't murder. It was self-defense, it was accidental.
And he wasn't even trying to kill her.
No,
totally she ended up like breaking her freaking neck, and
but nonetheless he did off Dwight's old squeeze.
Yep, Sherry. It's wild to see how and I was really worried because I was like, dude, whereas Dwight in the show, I didn't like it all in the beginning, and it probably was the same way in the comic. I wasn't as big a fan, but then I ended up, I kind of like Dwight in the show now, but in the comic, I really liked Dwight as the story progressed, and he became a character that I really liked. He was leading the Saviors. I was like, please, let's not have another go with the Saviors. Let this just be a bump in the road. Granted, that bump is, the leader that you're following, or the leader that you're allies with did kill your love, but nonetheless,
Yeah, and it's always great when your current girlfriend calls your ex-girlfriend, or in this case, dead girlfriend, a crazy bitch,
Right.
And Dwight's not feeling it. He gives her a look that could, like, just, if he had laser vision, man, she'd have a hole, like, through her head. But
and then she's like, okay, I'm sorry. That wasn't, I don't mean to speak ill of the dead, but she was a crazy bitch.
And, man, like, that eye roll she gives, like, I halfway thought she was turning into a walker, man. That is an eye roll that could just, like push your brains to the back.
You've lost one love. Now I turn into a zombie.
I'm telling you, man. That is so some good story progression there.
I like how she basically told him, like, we don't need to make enemies with Rick. You know, like we need to kind of.
Dwight gets that, I think.
Because Rick's not one. Which and let's see. So we move from that and we get to them. Dwight basically like seeing the arrival and trying to be. And this is where it kind of reminds me of The Office. I'm gonna skip ahead just a little bit, but it connects to where we're at now in the comic. Dwight is trying to back Rick up, so he's like, let's get the army together and go back him up, make sure that nothing happens. We got Rick's back. We're going to show him that everything's okay. And so he gets the army. And I love it that when he rolls up, trying to defend Rick basically and have his back, it's like, damn it, Dwight.
Yeah.
Stand down. That's so Office right there. Dwight arrives with something way over the top and Michael's having to be like, Dwight.
No, man, you're right. I didn't connect the dots, but yeah, he very much is a much more intelligent Michael Scott to Dwight's Dwight.
And one thing that was cool, a lot of times you find with these covers, they're kind of misleading or they're not, they're not. You don't see that cover in the comic most of the times. It's usually got like some hidden meanings and some symbolism. It was cool to actually see a slide or frame, whatever a part of the comic actually on the cover. Because if you look at the cover when Rick greets them, that's pretty much exactly what you get. Like look right there where he's standing in front of them with kind of his head down when they're all arriving, and then you flip to the cover, and that's pretty much like that right there. That's pretty much the cover. It's a little different, but it's very similar.
Yeah, for sure.
Rick arriving, man. This new governor just not understanding what a threat Rick can be.
Yeah, Pamela definitely, kind of, swinging her proverbial dick around a little bit, but she does have a legion behind her, and it's kind of cool seeing a princess meet Rick for the first time, and he's just kind of like...
He's like, okay, she's out there.
She's definitely not with us, right? Oh, she is with us. Oh, okay, well, all right.
Granted, and Princess has very mixed fan reaction. Some fans really, really like her. I've seen in our comments some fans not happy with her. Some fans just find her annoying and a little too over the top. But one thing we can agree on, she's someone you want on your side if some fighting breaks out. Yeah. She is a badass.
I mean, she survived this long by herself for a reason, and she's kind of got like a Mad Max kind of look going. I dig that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But it's funny to just see how, I like that. Well, number one, when she said something about governor and Rick's like, governor, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah, dude. That's the first time he's really even talked about that I can remember, since it went down. I mean, definitely, his hand getting lopped off by a psychopath isn't something he just brings up,
I think Robert Kirkman did a good job of writing how the apocalypse has affected people, two different people who have survived it, been through two different, Pamela's had this kind of cush life, and, after the apocalypse, she ended up in this community, and she just kind of was living high class and not understanding what the real world is actually like. Yeah. Whereas you've got Rick, who has been through some of the most traumatic and awful stuff that you could imagine in the zombie apocalypse. And he's a lot more humble and more, I guess, understanding of the way the world's working around him. Because, it's so funny when she says, don't worry, I feel like if something happens, I can take him in a fight. I'm like, Rick? You talking about Rick Grimes? Don't let that one arm fool you. He will mess you up.
He just murdered a bitch. Just kidding. He didn't actually murder anyone. And I don't refer to females as bitches. I was just doing that for comedic effect.
Yeah, male or female. If you're trying to attack a one-armed Rick Grimes, you're a bitch.
But and again, when she's like, talking about wars, not that I've actually been through an actual war, Rick's like, well, Kind of, we've had a few, wars kind of happen pretty regularly around here.
I like how he tells her, he's like, I'm not telling you that to intimidate you. I'm telling you that so you understand what kind of people we've encountered since this all happened. So you understand why we're a bit cautious and, I'm paraphrasing here, but,
right.
why we're apprehensive to just trust people, and he told that whole story of how the governor seemed nice and accepting and brought him in and then just chopped his hand off just to show that he's not to be trifled with. And it's like, so, forgive me for not being forgive us for not being the most welcoming and but I mean, he's taken her through, man. And it's so crazy. Like, until we saw the Commonwealth, Alexandria seemed like such a safe haven.
Yeah.
They've got apples and bread and windmills and Eugene just being the mastermind of just modern day, what's the word I'm looking for? I got lost in thought there. But basically, Eugene masterminding their, utopia there. But then you see the Commonwealth, and it just going back, seeing Pamela go back to the Alexandria looks almost primitive.
Yeah, I mean, without Eugene, they'd basically still be hunter-gatherers. I mean, they might be, like, growing a little corn or something, but, I mean, they wouldn't be making bread and all this stuff. I mean...
Do you think the next war will be fought over Eugene? Because notice how she's saying, I think Eugene would be very beneficial to us. And Rick's like, well, if you've got that many people, don't you have a few Eugenes of your own? I mean,
I think she's definitely going to Negan up a little bit just as far as, look, if you got something I want,
we're going to take it. You can't stop us.
Is it just me, or do you feel a little sexual tension between Pamela and Rick?
I didn't, but then again, sometimes I have to read through things a few times before I pick up. I kind of am like, I skim the surface and then I have to like really dive into it.
I see some of these looks and some of this back and forth. I mean, they're definitely two alphas, and I mean, it's always hard when you got two people and both want to be on top.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know, man.
And it's just completely different lifestyles too. I mean, she's just shocked that Rick lives among the common folk, and then, Rick's like, well, hell, that house is bigger than my house was before all of this happened.
Right.
And Rick's definitely living much more of a, I think that I think she's not liking the fact that she's seeing that, hey, here's this guy that's basically their version of me.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have to do all of the things I do. I mean, in her mind and her way of thinking is kind of like Negan's. Like, you have to build yourself up and create this image and give people something to aspire to in order to make them work together for the common good. Whereas Rick showed her that, no, if you just are actually a good leader or you're with good people, you can be one of the common folk. And
I mean, to me, it was a little weird at first that she's that bothered, because, I mean, the Alexandria community is on such a smaller scale that, Rick would just be living like anyone else. I mean, but I think in her mind, the whole ideology there could eventually infect what she's got going over here. And, I mean, that's the last thing she wants,
Right. Especially too, if Alexandria, well, not Alexandria, excuse me, if people from their community were to find out, like, hey, in Alexandria, there's no class system. Like, people have chores and they have jobs and they do them, but it's all for the greater good. You don't have to look up to people. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have these tyrants in a way. Because I know she's not necessarily a tyrant, but she definitely considers herself to be above the common folk, whereas Rick is just out there doing chores with them, helping out, going on patrol sometimes. I mean, just being one of his group.
Yeah, he's got his fingers in the dough.
Which begs the question, because the thing is, though, one thing is that Rick has a much smaller scale operation. And as far as the way he runs, not necessarily his living situation, but the way he runs things versus the way she runs things. And it's like, I think the obvious they're going for here is that Rick's right and she's wrong is what they're trying to convey. But one thing to consider, and I'm not saying she's right at all, but what I'm saying is they do have an entirely different, like, landscape to run. I mean, Rick's got a small. It's basically like trying to run New York City versus trying to run like our town. You know what I mean?
It's like you can't run a Walmart like you run a little mom and pop store on the corner. I mean, you just can't.
It's like, for instance, like right now with Rick, it's they've got a decent amount of people that they could be a threat if another smaller group tried to attack, but they don't have that many people compared to 50,000. Yeah. So you can find chores and stuff for everyone to do per se, to contribute to the greater good. But then you get to a point where, like, Pamela's community, they've got so many people. I mean, you run out of little chores to do to contribute, and you kind of just have to give people stuff to do. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I mean, it's just so many people that, you know, I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to watch them trade more like philosophy on running their communities.
Right. Like I said, man, I'm getting a little bit apprehensive.
That's what I'm waiting for. Don't get me wrong. All of that I was just saying, I'm not saying Pamela's right. I'm just saying it's going to be interesting to see how they compare, you know, how she tries to defend herself going forward on how she runs things with this giant community. Because I'm surprised she didn't say, you know, well, Rick, no offense, but you've got like, you know, a handful of people here. I've got 50,000. We can't run things the same way. But so what were your beefs? What issues do you have?
It's not a beef necessarily. It's just something kind of itching in the back of my mind. And I want to preface this with I'm not a political person.
Right.
I don't stand on either side. I think Bukowski said it best, or is in a poem or something like, people who believe in politics are like people who believe in God. They're sucking wind through bent straws. And I'm not even taking a stand on religion or God. I'm not saying I'm not taking a stand on anything.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that reading this, I'm kind of wondering if Kirkman was writing it, maybe like leading up to the 2016 election. Maybe I'm just drawing some like parallels. Maybe he kind of wrote. He's starting to write Rick maybe sort of as like a Bernie type?
Sanders. You're saying Rick is Bernie Sanders and Pamela is Trump?
I think Pamela maybe is an amalgamation of Hillary and Trump.
Right.
Something a lot of people saw is just, you know, what's wrong with the system.
So you could see this as more of like a socialist type, capitalist type system.
I'm worrying it's becoming sort of like a modern political commentary, which really makes me worry.
Well, if it makes you feel better, though, you can almost take. Now, there are some comic writers who blatantly throw their politics. I mean, it couldn't be more in your face. But I mean, when you really dig deep enough into any story, you can find politics or you know, I mean, that's essentially all stories are is philosophy, like the way situations should be handled. And
I get that, but I know that Kirkman kind of writes these, you know, further back. So I'm wondering if he was sitting down like watching the debates, you know, and stuff, and like,
are you worried? Are you scared that he might start getting, or like there might be more politics going forward?
I'm worried it might get too topical. Like even like looking at the cover, I mean, you know, Rick's kind of hunched over. He's not bald, but he's got that real short haircut. He almost sort of looks like Bernie from behind.
You see Bernie and Rick there.
I am. I mean, you know, I don't know.
I don't really care for politics either. I'm one of those.
I don't. And that's why I'm so worried about it polluting my comics, you know.
Right.
Like
well, you've had, we won't go into, you know, details, but I know there have been comics that you've dropped before because it's like, dude, they're blatantly throwing
on either side. Like I said, on either side. And I don't mind some socially relevant commentary. I don't mind that. There's issues in our society that do need to be addressed, and they're addressed great in, you know, comics or TV shows. That's wonderful, but it's just when I feel like it's starting to, you know, like,
I just am so over the 2016 election. Like, I just don't. I try to put it.
It's creeping up in The Walking Dead because I feel like maybe it was written. You know, I don't know.
Like a negative. I don't know. I feel you. Yeah, I would. It's like, dude.
It just worries me. That's all.
I have faith in Robert Kirkman's writing. I mean, I think that. I mean, it's just basically. I give him props though because, I mean, how many more conflicts can you come up with, you know, in this and still make them relevant and interesting, and he's finding ways to do that. Absolutely. Which not a lot of writers can do. And
it's great that this isn't, like I said, an ideological argument. It's not, you know, just they're showing up with guns and swords like, you know, we're going to take what you got.
It's more of a battle of the minds right now.
Absolutely. And I mean, Michonne, we're kind of seeing what side she's starting to fall on, you know.
That's what I'm thinking. If they go to war or there ends up being some kind of dispute, you know, and I like that. That's good writing. It's setting up Michonne. And you know that Michonne won't straight up betray Rick and them. If she was to completely switch sides, it would be a long, slow process. But this is kind of like a peak point here. Like Robert Kirkman's got it set up right now. It's kind of like he's playing chess, and you know he's got to make his right moves. But if the moves to follow are right, man, this could be a hell of an epic story. You know what I mean?
I mean, she's got her daughter to think about now.
Yeah, it could really test some allegiances. It could, you know, loyalty. So it could be really, really good. Like I said, this was kind of like I like this series, but I do feel like it was far more like set up.
I like this arc a lot, too. I really, like I said, just something different, something fresh. You know, they're not just retreading old ground.
Did you like this arc better than the Whisperer War? Because wasn't that kind of the last big
Yeah, I think
Summer,
so. I wouldn't say
not
I like
Summer
it
event,
better.
but big arc.
I thought they were both really, really good. I mean,
So you couldn't put one over the other? Sometimes it's hard because you remember, like, the Whisperer War happened, what, in like 2016? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's been almost 2 years ago. So, like, you really kind of need to read them side by side to get it. I just need more Negan in my life, man. That's my only complaint so far is I need more Negan. It's been like, what, 6-7 issues since we've seen the big guy? Like, please.
I mean, like say they like Kirkman just lost his mind and went straight like just a political parallel, like, Rick's Bernie, Pamela's Hillary. Is Negan gonna come in like a big old Trump?
Absolutely.
That would be wild.
Absolutely, yeah.
We're gonna make Alexandria great again. But
at this point, at this point though, Negan's like a reformed Trump, though. You know what I mean? Like, Negan is because I love the talks he had with Rick, where he's like confessing, like, man, look, I know what I was doing was screwed up, but I really thought that I was saving. I wasn't doing it to be a psychopath. I really, in my mind, thought that, hey, if I kill a person or two and it saves, hundreds and thousands, then it's well worth it, And like
I said, I don't even want to go down that road of talking about different political figures. I don't,
He's going to be like, I'm building a new bat. It's going to be huge. The greatest bat ever built. With the best barbed wire ever built. Met this Rick guy, really nice guy. I'm his favorite person.
No, man, you do Trump way better than me.
No, I don't. I used to could do a really good Trump, and I used to could do a really good Bernie. With Bernie, it just sounds like you have a stuffed up nose when you talk, but it's been a while since all of that was headlining, so my impressions suck now.
Maybe if the Walking Dead TV show veers down this road and Rick becomes sort of a Bernie and they have to replace Andrew Lincoln, and just get Larry David, play an older Bernie Sanders-esque Rick Grimes.
Please don't do that. I highly doubt any of the writers would stumble on our podcast, but please don't take inspiration from that.
Just an idea.
I like Larry David, but I don't want him in The Walking Dead. It's like I love Steve Carell, but I don't want him. I don't want him to take Rick's spot.
At this point with The Walking Dead, why not shake things up?
Have Michael Scott roll in like an actual crossover. Oh, man.
They're not too far from Scranton. I mean, it's all on the East Coast.
Michael, there are walkers outside trying to eat people. Hey, there's been a murder. I'm trying to take people's minds off this. But all right.
Ignorant slut. That's what Rick should have said to Dwight when he rolled up with the army.
Oh, yeah. Dwight, you ignorant slut. Or what is it? Where, like, I don't know, like, people lose body parts all the time. Say Heath is like, somebody's like, Heath's missing a leg. I mean, what kind of quality of life is he having?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm trying to think of someone in this series that does absolutely nothing, but it's like when he tells Kevin, he's like, oh, you'd want to live with no legs? No arms? Because that's basically how you live now, Kevin. You literally don't do anything.
Yeah. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Oh, man. But anyways, I digress. So let's put our fingers under the table with our ratings for this. Let's do 2 ratings. Let's do a rating for this issue and then a rating for this arc.
For the arc, right?
Yes. Okay. All right. So put your fingers under the table and throw it up. You give it a 10 out of 5?
I don't know.
We're doing a 5-star rating here.
I was coming up and I was like, what am I even? I liked it.
Do you want to? So what would you give it right now? Like, honestly, don't even think about my 4 stars. What would you give it? What was your honest feeling after reading this? Did you feel underwhelmed, overwhelmed?
No,
Were you just
the arc
satisfied?
Was solid, man. I liked the arc a lot.
That's why I gave this issue, I'm giving a 4 because it was awesome. It didn't blow my mind per se, but it was a very good issue. I loved kind of a meeting of the minds between 2 different leaders and the dialogue they had there.
It's something we haven't seen before.
Right. So I'm happy to give it a 4, and I think that it was a great issue. And what would you? All right. So what are you giving this issue before we go on to the arc? What are you giving the issue?
I'll give it a 3 just because it does make me nervous.
Okay.
And I'll give the arc a 4.
What is up with you in 3s? You gave the last episode of Fear the Walking Dead a 3, which is an all-time low for you.
That's just because it was a crappy morning.
3, man.
But no, I'll give the issue a 3. I thought it was really good. I thought it was solid. It makes me a little nervous. That's the only reason I give it a 3 because it's making me nervous, about my anxiety. And I'll give the arc.
Well, as a long-time reader, though, I mean, it's understandable. Like
I said, man, when stuff like topical, political stuff starts bleeding into things, it can just. What does it take? Like a teaspoon of oil to poison a water supply for a whole submarine full of guys. Sometimes that's the way I feel about stuff.
Yeah, that's understandable. Now, what would you give this story arc?
I'll give the arc a 4. I thought, like I said, it's fresh. it's a new kind of threat. I mean, yeah, I mean, I get it's a little weird having Michonne just randomly find her daughter, but if she was going to find someone she knew, it would be at this big settlement.
I've seen people complain about that. That doesn't bother me that bad.
I mean, stuff like that happens in life.
Right.
I mean, miracles happen every day. So...
Hearing that from you just makes it so much.
Leave the listeners with. Miracles happen every day.
I'm giving the issue a 4 and the arc a 4. I've enjoyed it. Now, this has been the setup, so the payoff is what's really where it's really going to count.
Waiting on that money shot. So. Hello.
So, yeah, and I meant to say this in the beginning. If you've made it this far, obviously you didn't hate our dialogue too much.
Oh gosh, I hope not.
So hit the subscribe button. We do reviews on the Walking Dead comics every month, and we also do reviews on other comics. We need to kind of get back on that. We got to catch up on Oblivion Song and the Avengers.
We fell off a little bit on some stuff.
And if you have a comics that you want us to review, just let us know. And if it's in our pull list, we'll definitely.
My pull list was strong this week, man. The new Deadpool I thought was surprisingly good. I really liked.
You got the new Deadpool?
I
didn't sign up for that.
I thought it was really good. I was half asleep. Sword Daughter. That's the name of it, right?
That's probably going to go pick up a copy of that today. That looks
Daughter,
really interesting.
That was a nice one. Nice one from Dark Horse. Hadn't picked up any Dark Horse for a while.
Me either. I don't know if I've got any Dark Horse. I'm trying to think. I'm sure I've got something that they might have wrote, but maybe I don't. I'd have to go back and look through. But yeah, the Immortal Hulk came out.
Yeah, solid read.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. It's kind of a darker take, I think, on the Hulk than, which I mean, the Hulk's always kind of dark, but this is a different. I mean, never mind. I don't want to spoil it. What else did we get before we wrap it up? I got like 7 comics yesterday.
Yeah,
so
I dropped like $56.
Good Lord.
Which one of that was on a variant from last week for a Doomsday Clock?
Did you get the one with the Joker?
Yeah.
I did too.
So that was in my box.
It was too sweet. I wish I'd have gotten all the variants, man. I'm kind of mad at myself for this being the first variant that I've gotten in that series. But yeah, it got some other stuff, but it was some good the new Infinity Countdown.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. What else was really good? I enjoyed that quite
Yeah, that's been good too. That's definitely setting up for the Infinity Wars, which is getting ready to start. Got a new Weapon Lost, which is the Daredevil Infinity
I hadn't read that.
Countdown
I need to catch up on a lot of the Wolverine stuff. But man, like the Silver Surfer being
no, that's not to Infinity. You're right. It's Weapon Lost is Daredevil's tie-in to Hunt for Wolverine. My bad.
Yeah, but man, Silver Surfer being Galactus's herald again. That's pretty dope. Yeah,
very interesting. So, yeah, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We also talk about the Walking Dead TV show, things related to the Walking Dead. Fear the Walking Dead, any of that. Hit the subscribe and like button. And we're just trying to branch out.
That's a show now, right?
What?
Roast the Walking Dead?
Roast
where the zombies they make fun of the zombies? I don't know.
I was going to say Roast the Walking Dead. Well, we have that sometimes when we have Matt in here on our other podcast. He's just not a big fan of it.
Every week.
So, yeah, hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you next time. I'm Justin.
Yeah, and I'm JP.
We hope.
Yeah.